Alrighty, we're going to get started here. First off, we're going to do our land acknowledgement. Peace River School Division respectfully acknowledges that the land on which we gather is located within the Treaty 8 territory, a traditional meeting ground and home of the ancestral First People, the Cree and Dene, as well as the Métis. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and for those who have gone before us. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on and or are visiting. So we're going to go through our agenda. There's no consent agenda today. So under strategic, we're going to go through our capital plan amendment under 3.1. Under 4, we will have an in-camera session that we will get to here right away with a human resources hearing. 4.2, we have some policy development to go over. So they're all listed there, policy 2 and the appendixes, as well as policy 3 and the appendixes, and a conversation around policy 22. And I believe actually 4.2.5 is kind of in with that one, as well as a quick conversation about policy 7. We do have under 5, we have some sensitive motions that were removed from the last board meeting agenda under 5.1, so we'll go over that as well. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? And if not, can we get a motion to approve the agenda? David, all in favor? 5. Oh, sorry. Moise, are you there?
Can you hear me?
No, yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you see my hand?
I can't see you, no.
Oh. Interesting. I can see you though.
Okay. Can I just get a verbal if you are?
Yes. I approve the agenda.
Okay, 6. So we're 6 then.
So before we, I think the first thing we're doing, we're moving in camera. Trustee Dion, you have the link for the in camera, and if we require any in camera, the secretary treasurer will email that link out.
I do have a link. I do have a link of in camera.
Okay, but if anyone else is required in camera, we will email that out after we're in camera.
Okay. So we're good for a motion to move into camera then. Jake, Marie, all in favor?
I am in favor.
Okay, perfect. So we are 6 moving into camera.
Coming out of camera at 11:57, and any motions coming out of in camera. Okay, Trustee Dick.
Okay, moved by Trustee Marie Dick with respect to teacher transfer matter 2025-01, arising pursuant to Board Policy 14 hearings on teacher matters, that the appeal is denied. Further, the board vice chair is authorized to issue written reasons on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Could I just have it reread? I missed a couple words there.
Okay, sorry. Moved by Trustee Marie Dick with respect to teacher transfer matter 2025-01, arising pursuant to Board Policy 14 hearings on teacher matters, that the appeal is denied. Further, the board vice chair is authorized to issue written reasons on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? All in favor? We are 5. Okay, I think we will recess now for lunch. Yeah, and come back at 12:45. Everyone good with that? Okay, thank you, everyone.
we will start again at 3.1 with our capital plan amendment approval. That is.
I'm
Oh,
gonna, like, Superintendent Thompson.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll just make a few opening comments and then sort of turn it to Ron for further comments. So I just wanted to follow up on the decision that the board made last week. Subsequent to the board meeting, there's been some conversations that have unfolded, certainly within the community and here at our office. And I just wanted to take a moment to sort of dissect two pieces of that process last week. So as you all know, a value scoping process is a very healthy, robust system that allows the school division in partnership with other personnel from Alberta Infrastructure and community members to engage in a process to determine what the best solution might be for a school system in a community. Meanwhile, recall that last June 16th, the Peace River School Division was invited to a meeting with MLA Loan and another school jurisdiction, a meeting that the Premier was going to be attending. That meeting occurred, and coming out of that meeting, there appeared to be a direction perhaps forward to maybe enhance the likelihood of the division securing funding to set Fairview up for the long term with regard to infrastructure to meet the educational needs within the community. The board deliberated, discussed the options that would be available. Week 3 were carried forward for conversation. There was one other, I suppose, that could have been carried forward, and that would have been perhaps a modernization of both existing schools, but we chose to move forward with 3. Certainly, the focus of the conversations was around the preferred option for the board from the perspective of enhancing the possibility or the prospect of getting money earlier than normal. 2, from another perspective, minimizing overall costs to deliver education in the community. As we all know, or as you all know, the board is in a much different financial picture than it's ever been in, or been in for the last 2 decades for sure. So financially, we're in health. And so operating space that's in excess of what's needed, or space within communities where community services are more expensive, those are considerations that were brought to the table. So the board made a decision through a motion that it would move forward and put on its capital plan and ask for funding to build a K-12 school. Now, that piece, to dissect that off of normal processes, there is the other process that will unfold now is the value scoping, which we have money for. And so what I wanted to reiterate here, and this will be articulated, you'll see in the document that Secretary Treasurer Freeman will bring forward in a moment, that this process will now unfold. A full-fledged value scoping will take place in the community of Fairview, or in the town of Fairview, with all of the stakeholders that normally come to the table. And this is the opportunity then through that process to determine if indeed the most viable, tax efficient approach to provision of long-term educational services in Fairview is indeed a K-12 school, or if through a determination from people with the expertise in the field, it is decided that the value, the core value of one or both schools in Fairview is so substantial, and the modernization cost is minimal compared to the cost to build, quote unquote, a brand new school, that provision is still there. So I just wanted to say that the board carried out a process last week out of an obligation to have a more definitive capital plan to deliver to Alberta education, and align with what was perceived to be a request from the Premier, who said, hey, we need you to share with us what your plan is. As you know, capital plans change from year to year, depending on circumstances. Things get bumped up on the list or down and altered. And so through this value scoping process, which will unfold in earnest later this fall, it will be determined That will determine whether or not the K-12 school is the best approach for the financial overall well-being of the organization and the long-term strategic positioning to deliver high-quality education. If it's something else, then what I wanted to be on record as saying that from an administrative perspective, what you decided last Thursday will not in any way, shape, or form tie the hands of the administrative team or the board, overall in moving forward with its authentic value scoping process. Some people might argue or say that, well, because the board passed a motion to say, hey, we're going after funding for a K-12 school, that somehow or another weakens or circumvents or renders null and void as value scoping process. In actual fact, it is the exact opposite of that, that the value scoping will still unfold as it would have. So I suppose, to finalize my overall comments here, the board could have decided not to pass a motion last week. It could have decided not to position itself to send something to Alberta Education that was aligned with what I understand to be in line with the conversation that the Premier had with the two school boards. But it did. The fact that it did doesn't change at all the value scoping process. It will unfold as if with or without that motion. So they were related, obviously, but two distinctly different processes. And as we move through this, then we will get back to a process where we have the MD of Fairview, the town of Fairview, where they can share what their views and opinions are. At the last meeting, I did indicate that I was going into the meetings thinking that the town of Fairview and the MD of Fairview were on the same page with regard to whether it's one school or redeveloped schools. And clearly from that meeting, there's other work that we need to do for sure to reach out to our community partners a little more. And once the value scoping process is done, the board will be crystal clear for the board as to what the ask will be, whether it's as the motion stated now is or some other ask. And the other piece I'll say is that regardless of what transpires here, we still could be years before this funding, but at least I think the board positioned itself to get something to the ministry that the Premier ultimately can be made aware of, and whether or not that changes the trajectory for Peace River School Division in securing funding for new infrastructure. We don't know that yet, but regardless of how that unfolds, we will have plenty of time, because I don't think that decision will be made such that we're into designing within 6 months. It's still a long game here. So we're really well positioned to get the community feedback through that process. And I'll turn over to Rhonda for further details.
So I did a draft of the change for number one, the Fairview K-12 Collegiate School, a solution project. Solution project is the title that capital planning uses and infrastructure uses when we have more than one facility involved and a potential new school. So that's where the term solution comes from. It's 2.9.5 in the school capital manual. And in light of the conversation that Superintendent Thompson just had, my amendment starts with the request and gets to value scoping, where value scoping is still the next step in this process, right? So I would be more than in agreement of kind of switching this verbiage around to start with the value scoping as the next steps for Peace River School Division in the schools for Fairview. So I don't think that there's anything in the document that I gave you that shouldn't be there, but I think that I probably should have reversed the order of the topics that were talked about. Does that make sense?
Right. No, I just didn't quite get that last bit that you were talking about flipping
Starting with value scoping.
in the document.
In the document, so the next steps for schools in Fairview would be a value scoping session, but I have it at the end of that section. And I might be a bit misleading having it at the end when really it is the next step.
Yeah, under step one.
Like just move that rule of value
Yes,
scoping to the top.
right underneath number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
And of course, any other changes that you want me to make, but
Anything else from your guys? Okay. Let's go. So, Trustee Chinsky. Oh. I'm fine with it. This is the motion. Trustee Dick.
Come back to me now, please.
Trustee Leach.
I wanted to hear what you guys said.
Me too.
No, I like it, but I do think that's something to consider moving the role of values moving back up to the top. I just think it is really good. Yeah, and I think there's gonna just need to be some work done for the community to understand the process a little bit better, that we by no means are gonna, this is not be what we get, but this is what we're starting a conversation about. And that can change. And I think the other thing that I was a little bit concerned about is just with including the site, because I think that there is a lot of willingness to reconsider or to at least have that fleshed out in value scoping. And I don't know that it's necessary to include it in our capital plan yet. So I would recommend that we remove that it would necessarily be at the Fairview High School site, because I feel that the community wants to have more conversation on that point, and I wouldn't want to make that decision for them, because it's not, to me, it doesn't matter one way or the other towards an ask, right? Yeah, no, and I'm happy that we're having something, that we're asking for something just to have our foot in the door should things move quicker. And I thought all the other points were well done. And I would like to hear from other people as well, how it reads, the placement of the role of the value scope.
Okay, Trustee Christian.
Yeah, I might be confused and, forgive me if I am, but I'm just having a really tough time with this. The way I see this is that we're saying to the provincial people that are in charge of the pots of money, we've decided as a board that we want a K-12 school in Fairview. And in the meantime, we would do value scoping to see if that's what we really want in Fairview. And we may change our mind coming out of the value scoping as it's written here. We may decide if we have like Peter Burgess and working with Eric in the town and parents and everybody in a value scoping session, we may decide that modernization of both schools is the best option. What it says in here, then that's what we'll do. So in the meantime, this is where I was last week. Although last week, the way we talked about value scoping is once we made the K-12 decision, the value scoping, and the way I understood it last week, the value scoping was going to work on then how does this K-12 really work? In theory, not that we're going back and we're going to look at a whole bunch of different options. So we're saying, hello, Peter Burgess, we want money for a new K-12 school in Fairview, but in the meantime, we're going to invite you up to sit down and see if that's the right decision for us. Because we may want to do something different if the value scoping says something different. That's where my confusion is. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't get it. I don't get how you can say we want a K-12 school. You guys get that? We're sending it in, but then we may change our mind.
So
They may want something different.
what part do you want?
Pardon me?
What part did you want that in?
Well, I'm still on last week, right? I mean, if we're going to say we need a new K-12 school, then let's get on with it. We're not saying that. We're saying we want a new K-12 school. But then we're gonna sit down to see if that's our party.
Yeah, no, and thanks, Madam Chair, and certainly, I understand where the trustee is coming from around the potential confusion here. So one approach would certainly be, once a board has decided that this is indeed locking in on and we're definitely sure about doing, value scoping processes could unfold that would give the levels of specificity to what the design is going to look like and so on. And again, this was what I was trying to get at in the earlier conversation. So this board found itself last week in a situation, or in August actually, coming out of a meeting that we didn't attend, but the members came out of, with a view and an understanding that a meeting had been called for us to attend, not by the way that we had requested, because I think there's some confusion within the community that people thought that the Peace River School Division requested a meeting with the MLA and the Premier happened to be there. It was actually the other way around, as I understand it. But coming out of that meeting, the board felt obligated to bring a finer point, some further detail to its capital plan to identify what the ask was. So using that as a separate process in and of itself, the board looks at, okay, so are we going to, if we're only going to have one choice here, the best option would be a brand new K-12 school, meeting all of the educational needs within the community, one piece of infrastructure with one municipal cost to run the school, taxes and so on. And have that in by the end of September as per the conversation with the Premier present. Separate from that is a value scoping process. And in normal times, if that pressure wasn't felt, then the capital plan motion would be different and the value scoping would go forward in a way that whereby the board hasn't yet tipped its hand on what the option would be if given one choice. The reality is that the value scoping process still unfolds, and it's not so much verifying, confirming that this is the preference, we're going with that, and let's get to the details. The value scoping process will unfold to determine what is most feasible. If through that process, early calculations suggest, for example, that it's going to be $70 million for a brand new K-12 school, and the modernization of the two existing schools is $30 million, then that's a really important decision. And now the board has new information that says, oh, we're more likely to get 30 million than 70 million. So with the need to get something on record to the ministry for the Premier, if I could put it that way, for the end of September, so that people knew what the board was thinking, that motion was passed. But it doesn't change the value scoping process that will unfold. And so through the value scoping process, that process will confirm whether or not the most viable approach is a K-12 school, or if indeed it's modernization of one and a building of a smaller school, modernization of K-6 building of 7-12, or vice versa, or the modernization of both schools. So if somebody asked a question, how much is it going to cost to modernize those schools? Well, we might get a quote of, say, $15 million, it could be $20 million, it could be $40 million. We don't know, but the value scoping process will determine that and what the feasibility would be. So I think we will set the value scoping process up as a fact-finding process, fact-finding from the perspective of determining exactly what it is that stakeholders in the community would prefer, and whether or not those preferences are achievable from the point of view of generating an ask from government. All of that aside, if somebody said, okay, you have to let us know what the decision is, without knowing what's entailed in modernizing older schools, even though there's parts of them that are newer, the safest approach for this board was to go forward with a K-12 ask, and it was most financially prudent to do so, because having brand new infrastructure that's at or near capacity is operationally more easier to administer and to operate than to have schools that are partially occupied. So that's really where it was coming from. So I guess what I would say, and one record is saying that, again, to the town of Fairview and the stakeholders there, there should be no sense of panic on their end that somehow or another, the processes that are normally in place for places like Red Earth Creek and Manning and other areas of the division are not going to unfold there in Fairview. They will unfold in the exact same way. They would have unfolded with or without the K to 12. So I suppose the K to 12 motion was really reserving the ticket to the concert that you might or might not go to. But you have seats there because there's a possibility that you might be able to get in. And the board was trying to capitalize on that. Now, some people would argue that the likelihood of getting money announced for a new school from a school board now is going to be pretty remote. But I think the board positioned itself strategically to align with the conversations coming out of the meeting with the premier in August month.
Sure. I watched the meeting back the other day, and I didn't realize I did as much talking as I did then, but I just don't seem to be able to get it out there, and I don't know what it is. We're asking, I didn't get the same picture with Premier. My vision with the Premier, when she was saying, I want to know what you want, because it could fit with Holy Family. And at that time, we told the Premier in the room, we're waiting for a partnership to come and work out together, right? We are. A few weeks later, they said, no thanks. We don't want to partner with you guys. So I think that that took the weight off of our shoulders to make the decision with moving forward. But what we're saying, if this lands in, let's say it goes to Peter Burgess, and he's the only guy that I know and would recognize because I've seen him a few times. He's going to say the Peace River School Division is asking for funding for a K-12 school, and then they're going to do value scoping to see if that's the right decision. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. We look like idiots. I just don't get it. I mean, we just look like fools. Like, you're asking for a K-12 school, and then you're going to go and sit down with all the stakeholders, and Peter Burgess would probably be one of them, and find out if that's right. That's where I was last week, and I'm still not there. And I don't think that the Premier is sitting there just waiting for the Peace River School Division to make their minds up. If we were going forward with the way I understood it, we're going forward with an ask for a K-12 school, then the value scoping session, and I'm sure Superintendent Thompson explained it that way last week, that we were going to sit down with the stakeholders and people from Alberta Education and maybe an architect or two to decide what does that K-12 school look like and how does it best fit within the community and serve the community needs. Then I still wouldn't agree with the motion, but I would be on board with the process. Now we're saying we want a K-12 school, even though we don't know yet whether that's the right thing for the Peace River School Division to do. And I would just flip back to where I was last Thursday saying, let's do the value scoping because there's no urgency on this. There's absolutely nobody going to create money for us until this value scoping is done if we don't know where we're going at, right? And to get something on record for the ministry or the Premier, if it's not something your heart's into, then how can you, why would we do that, right? I mean, I don't know why we would say we want a K-12 school. We don't know if that's why. We don't know if that's what's best. So I'll just leave it there for now.
Trustee Dion. Oh, you're muted.
What I would say is, I think the person close to the metal in this discussion is a trustee of the ward. He is the one that has most of his constituents more affected by what we're deciding here. So I will stand by him and support him. So that's my stance.
Thank you. Trustee Giesberg.
Yeah, I guess. I don't really know. So this would be the normal process to put out an ask, just like we did the K to 12, and then to do the value scoping after, and then tweak that plan as needed. That is how it's always done. Is that what we're saying here?
Well, excuse me, but when I was helping out with the capital plan for a number of years, no, that's not the way it went. You would put out an ask and then the justification for the ask. And that would normally include stuff like a value scoping session, or the value scoping session would be done with you after your decision is made to support that decision. You're going to do a K to 12 school in Red Earth Creek. That's the decision the boards make. Then you go out and you do value scoping related to a K to 12 school in Red Earth Creek. That's the way it would work. Or you would do value scoping. In this case, if the value scoping came first, then the decision was made to do a K to 12 school, then you would ask for a K to 12 school or something else, right?
And see, and I think how I understood it was, okay, we voted on and we discussed that what we think is what's best for the division is a K to 12. And so we would put forward the value scoping as we are going as a K to 12. But if everything in that value scoping pointed towards maybe this isn't the best or the most feasible way, then we could pivot, right? So that's how I understood it. Not that we were still going out and looking for all of those different options. It would be presenting, this is the option, this is our want, this is our ask. This is what we're going for. But if everything was put against us in that, or against that decision in that value scoping, then we would have a chance to pivot. Because just because this is what we want and what we think is best for the division, once we get all of those players down and sit at the table, it might come out there that it's not. So that's how I was taking it.
I'm sorry, I'm just taking up more time, but I mean, it's near and dear to my heart, so I'm just gonna do it, right? So what you're saying is that the board, which we did last week, would decide what we think is best for the division, and then we would do the work to find out whether that's true or not. And that's just totally, to me, is backwards. Like, if we decided that a K to 12 school is best for the division, which this board did by a majority vote last week, then get on with it. We don't do value scoping to see if 2 or 3 other things are going to work.
No, but that's
We
what
get
I'm
on.
saying,
No, sorry, but we've made our decision. We've made our decision that a K to 12 school is what we want to do, and we want to ask the government for money for a K to 12 school. If we start this value scoping session that's here now, which is a value scoping session I really want to see, we could be going back to the government in 2 or 3 months and say, oh, sorry, didn't realize it, but that's really not the best for us. We want to do this. And if in their wisdom, if it was me making a decision, I would say, well, why didn't you wait until you knew what was best for you before you asked for the money?
Are we going by show of hands or are we going by speaker?
Well, we've already went through the speaker list, so now it's,
Show of hands?
Yeah.
Okay. David, I think we did decide we're asking for a K to 12. The value scoping part still is in play because that's when you sit down and say, what are we?
Can I ask a quick question? Yes, please.
it's not your turn to speak right now, please.
No, but is it a turn thing or anybody jump in and start speaking? That's what I noticed. So if it is a speaking list, let's use a speaking list, but we cannot have people jumping in like that.
No, we've already went through the speaker list, so now it's a show of hands. So Lori had put up her hand, so she's speaking, and then we can get, if you have something else to comment on, we can get to you next.
I will recommend we use a speaking list because, we cannot do that.
This is how we've always done our meetings. We go through the speaker list once, and then it's whoever wants to speak afterwards. So that's how I will continue to do it.
Okay, then I will ask, don't mention any trustee, don't address Edith because you just want her to flip. just make your case and without mentioning her because she didn't ask you a question. And I think that's important.
I don't know what his.
I don't know what.
Yeah, I understand what I'm saying. But I mean, don't mention Edith. You're trying to speak to Edith personally, and I don't like that. Yeah.
I'm missing a word.
No, I think you're cutting out a bit. That's what we're saying. We can't quite
Okay.
hear what you're.
Yeah, okay, so what I'm saying, let me speak slowly and clearly. When you speak, please do not mention a trustee name, particularly in a discussion like that. Edith Ginsburg didn't speak to you, so don't mention a name when you want to speak. You speak to the entire board, so address everybody. Don't personalize the interaction in a way or an effort to make a trustee flip the decision. We're all adults and we can make our own decision on this board. So please, if you have a case, make it to everybody. Try to convince me, try to convince Mary, but not speaking directly to Edith. That's what I want to say.
I apologize if that might come across. I didn't mean that. I just meant to like COVID. I think we're agreeing. So I apologize to David. So I do think we're agreeing that we did make the decision for the ask to be for a K-12 school. So if this submission, the topic at the table right now is what we are going to put on our capital plan. And so if it is misleading that it seems to come across that would go back on that, we need to edit this to say that the value scoping is going to lead us through a process to confirm the decision that is being made is the best fit for Fairview, meaning the way the building looks, where the building is, where resources can be saved in the fact that maybe it's attached to the EEO school to preserve that gym. Whatever it is, these things will all come out in the value scoping. So that is how I read it. I do not read it as if we are going back on a decision that was already made. So I think we needed the wording of this document to say what we want it to say. So I don't know where the confusion is coming from, that we would go back unless the government was to say, look, you're not getting a new K-12. You got to do something with what you have. That is where it comes in because we don't have the ultimate control. They do. So if they look at the buildings that we have and direct us in another way, then we would go with that. But it wouldn't be our request because our request has been put in that we decided last week to ask for a K-12. So now we're going to go through this process of how to make that the best for Fairview with all of the feedback that we found. And I think we did a good thing by reaching out to the community first. I think it actually was one of your ideas and something that you've said the whole time that you've been in is consult with the community more. So the processes that I have been through is when we had the value scoping for Red Earth Creek, we knew what we were aiming for. So that's where we're at now, is we know where we're going to have these conversations with. The government is going to bring in new information to us that we don't know what that is until they come, right? Also, whether this happens in the new year, which would be really exciting, or whether this happens in 3 years, there's going to be more information. So the way I described it that day that we went out was it's a hamster wheel. And right now we're on the September, running for the September 30th. We have an opportunity to put something out there for an ask. And then we have a job to do after that to continue the process so that in March we edit this again so that we have even a better ask. And then the more times that that is seen on the capital plan, the more chances we have for this to move forward. And what I would really love to see from the community, which I am representing as well, is that we get a good plan with great partnerships all at the same, that when we're all ready, because the town's not ready yet either, right? They're starting a process too. They're going to have more information by the year. So by the time March comes around for the new board to decide, they're going to be better informed yet. And then they're going to carry on their wheel until September 30th. And they're going to look at any new information that came and have a chance to edit it again. It's a process. It's a circle. So I really feel like we did make the best decision with all of the information that we all have gathered as our experiences as trustees to put forward what we think is best going to catch the attention of the government to look at Fairview, education in Fairview. And that's, I think, what the ask is. So now we need to communicate what our ask was in a document that's going to not make us look like we're going back on decisions and promote the reasons behind why we feel we want to continue having these conversations for Fairview. And honestly, I feel like we're not on different pages. I feel like we're on the same, but we need to meld them all together so that it sounds the same coming out from us. So I think this document must need a little bit of work. If we're feeling two different ways about it, or if we're feeling that it's confrontational at all. That's all I have.
Any other trustees? I know. Okay. Good.
So, the next, budget, federal budget or provincial budget would be out in February, is it February?
Yes.
February?
Announcements generally
Okay.
happen.
So, so the value scope, and we've already received that funding?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we would miss that budget for any school funding. Right, because we wouldn't know the results of value scoping in time to.
Well, I don't know, that's for a scheduling thing, right? But you're looking at me, sorry, I don't know if I should be the one answering that.
Depending on the time, to schedule the value scoping, which I could move forward with starting tomorrow. Probably Thursday, actually, because we're in River Creek tomorrow. So it's about timing when people can be available and when the companies can be available to do that. So could it be done by February? Yes. Will it? I'm not sure yet.
So if we don't get a good feel back from this value scoping on a K to 12, and the feeling is we should be going with the 2 renovations instead. We can move forward next September on that. Correct? Or
For March, if that's the situation.
March?
March is the next time you'll talk about, you have to have a capital plan finalized by the end of the month.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we could still use that capital funding, looking at all this overbase, and then we're just moving into make a decision on what is needed in that community and what will work for that community, and then move forward with applying for funding for the following budget or whatever.
Well, no, we are asking for
That's
something.
Yeah, we're asking for, that's what the capital plan is. Like, that's the thing, and we've already put in, the motion was already passed. We're asking for a K to 12. Like, and that's where we're saying that if it's not clear in here what we would mean by the value scoping afterwards, it's just, we're saying, like Jeff had made a good comment about saying, well, okay, a brand new K to 12 school might be 70 million, but government might come back and say, no, we're not giving you that much. So maybe figure something else out. Right? But we're saying we're asking for a K to 12. So that's where we would focus the value scoping, and just once all the other information comes to the table, though, it might kind of force us to pivot is what.
Yeah, just for a little bit more for clarification. So as part of the value scoping, it is our job then also to find out what a new build would cost versus 2 modernizations, or is that something the government figures out after they've approved a certain project? Or
In the value scoping session, part of the process is a cost consultant is part of the conversations. There's representatives from capital planning, which is the education side and infrastructure, that would talk to the group saying, okay, this is what you would get. This is what's allowed. This is what's included, to help drive the project in the proper direction as to, you know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. The cost consultant will take everything that happens during that value scoping session, come back with a report saying, based on the outcome of that value scoping session, this is what the cost would be for that project. And if capital planning or infrastructure had additional information on the direction that they're going with the new capital projects, because they have an accelerator program and they have the regular school capital programs in play right now, a value scoping session lets them share with us at that level the direction the government's going with new school builds as well.
Not much to add. My thoughts are just going, like 2 years ago, we did a value scoping and, oh, perfect plan. We had like, everything's great, everything's going. Like we could probably do a value scoping every year and come up with a new plan. So at some point we just have to commit, and I guess I thought we kind of committed. I think removing a few sentences in this role of the value scoping there is what I would like to see. Removing some of the stronger language that we're looking at other options. If that's what it ends up being, it is, but I don't necessarily think it needs to be in this paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, even the last line, where it's green, I'm on page 4 on the role of value scope. And then it says, essentially, while the preferred option is the new K-12 collegiate school, the value scoping process will determine if modernization of one or both existing schools is the most feasible long-term solution for educational delivery. It is absolutely true, but I think it's confusing.
It's what, sorry?
It's absolutely true. Like if we get told, no, you should look at this more than a new school, it's absolutely true. But I do think it's confusing that we are still haven't made our priority, because capital plan's about priorities. It's not, it's a wish list, right? And then previously to what I said, I still stand behind, I think we should remove the site, because I think that will be determined in value scoping, not that we're asking for a school to be placed on this. And I think that lesson was learned last time when we made that jump to assuming that the high school would be at NWP. So I think the value scoping is the right place for those decisions to get made.
I really like just ending. The next steps will be hold a value scoping session for Fairview. This session will allow all partners to confirm grade configuration, program requirements, site readiness, and potential partnerships. While the division's preferred solution is in the K-12 collegiate school, the value scoping process will also examine other options. And I think the rest is extra.
Okay, is there any discussion around that?
Probably come as no big surprise, and I disagree with Trustee Krasinski, Madam Chair. The value scoping that's in here, I 100% support, because that's what I believe the value scoping should do. I just believe it's in the wrong order. I believe that we're doing it to maybe follow up on Trustee Giesbert's question a little bit ago. In Red Earth Creek, for example, the school board and the division decided that they would continue with a K-12 school up there, and then we build it probably next to the arena, and then they went into value scoping to see what that would work like, right? Here, we've made a decision that we're going to have a K-12 school, and then we're going to do value scoping to see if that's the right decision for Fairview, right? Because if that's I don't want to lose this value scoping, because it's the only thing left that I can bring back to my people in my community and say, we're going to sit down and go through that. So if that's it, I need to keep everything as it is there. I'm just saying that I'm worried that we're going to be just a little bit embarrassed when we tell Alberta Education that we want a K-12 school. And when you get a free minute, can you be part of our value scoping? Because we want to decide whether that's right or not. That's where I am. And anyways, it doesn't matter. The board made a decision last week, unless we're gonna rescind on that motion and change all of that. I'm just talking to. I'm done. I'm sorry.
So I guess we kind of have to decide, because that's, like, I can see, like, I can see where some of the confusion can be, but if we are having an ask for a K to 12, then I do think we need to be firm on that K to 12. But
But I,
Yeah.
is that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There still seems to be like that uneasiness and I'm not understanding it, but maybe we've said all we can.
yeah,
So, we're-
well, I think, yeah, and I think we need to decide if we are holding firm to the decision that was made last week, that we are going to ask for a K to 12. Then I do think that the section here of the role of the value scoping does need to be altered, because it is saying that we're looking at, and so I do fully understand what Trustee Rustin is saying about how it seems like we're kind of doing things out of order if we leave it the way it is.
he wants to, you want him to,
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
For sure.
okay, I'm okay with that. Because I don't think there's anything false in it. And I can explain this. I can stand in front of my people and explain this. I'm okay with it. The only hard thing is I don't want the site in it. So unless anyone else has, wants to change my mind about that or disagrees, I could accept this.
We were just talking about moving it though to the top,
And
right?
I can support it either way. So whatever makes it more comfortable for anyone else.
Okay, well, do we want to do this in a couple steps then? Because if somebody wanted to put a motion to remove the site part, or do we need to, or how would we do this?
You
Approve
just-
it as amended.
You would just approve the capital plan as amended and tell me what changes that you want me to make.
Okay. So far, are we saying that the kind of the bigger choices or the biggest changes would be to remove the site and then to add the role of the value scoping to the top of that number one? Was I getting that right? That's what you were saying before?
I did, but somebody
sorry.
did it. would-
Sorry, I thought you did too, sorry.
Nope, nope, but I would definitely, if this document moves forward kind of sort of like it is right now, the next steps would be, yeah, the role or the value scoping should be at the very top, for sure. I don't want my fellow trustees, Madam Chair, to think that I'm being difficult, because I'm not. I won't approve this, I won't vote for it, but at the end of the day, I understand where everybody's coming from. And Trustee Dion said it at our last meeting, we spent way too much time on this stuff already. We're just going over and over and over again. So we just make a couple of changes, but a motion on the floor, voted, let's get going.
What if you took the headings out? Because it does read very well the way it is, as the English teacher in the room. It reads quite well in the order that it's in. If you move that piece to the top, you'll certainly have to change how that, you'll need an introduction, because I didn't sit in on your last meeting, so just reading this document with not having the background information, I'm getting the background information from the top piece. So I need that top piece to understand what your next steps are gonna be, because I didn't know that top piece, right? So I feel like as an outsider looking at this document, I need that beginning piece to understand what you're getting to. If you start with next steps, I'm gonna say, what were the first steps? I don't understand where this is going or coming from. So, but you could take the headings out and change your language a little bit to make it a little more succinct, and it would read very well. And you could still take your sites out.
I would argue for the headings just for the ease of readability and scanning through. Like if someone from David Ward particularly is looking to see it, they're gonna see the words role of value scoping and jump there. And that may satisfy some of their initial concerns.
As long as they go back and read the beginning piece, because I think there's a lot of information in it.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I think it works either way. I'm not suggesting, I just thought that might ease the, I don't know that you can just take that paragraph and plunk it at the top and have it.
I
make
agree with
sense.
that. No, it would need a total rewrite.
Did I? Oh, I did. Oh, I remember you started. Are you good then? Yeah. Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Are we clear what the ask is? We just can't say, sorry, Madam Chair, for just butting in, but we can't say, let's approve this capital plan as edited, because we don't know what the edits are yet. We just had 3 or 4 conversations.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'd have to be clear in we're doing that for sure. So, yeah, like, so what I'm hearing from the room is that we're saying it reads well. Maybe that would we be comfortable with approving as amended to remove the site?
Yes, I'll make the motion that we approve this update to the capital plan with the amendment, the removal of with the removing of the wording of
Specific sentence.
yeah.
Just for the high school.
Item under number 1,
For
Madam Chair.
Pardon?
Item under number 1, I think, the trustee is looking for first sentence on the top.
Oh, yeah, right.
On
Oh,
the current period.
Yes.
If we could just remove those words.
Sorry, what was the words again?
On the current Fairview High School site in the first sentence. And then I'm just gonna also include any other mention to the site. I don't read it 4 times, but and yeah, and then the same, right? So number 2 would be replanning funding for value scoping session in the town of Peace River, right? Which we've actually received the funding for.
Mhm.
And number 3, pre-planning funding for value scoping regarding the modernization of Worsley Central School, which we have not been provided the funding.
Okay, is everybody clear on what that motion is?
Just, because we had so much discussion around it, I think it was our secretary treasurer who talked about it at the beginning. Would it be right to move the role of value scoping to the top? And then we had some more discussion over here. That's not a part of your motion, or you don't believe that? I think the value scoping opens it up really well. But if that's not a part of your motion, then I would just like to hear the motion as it is then.
Are you asking it to be part of the motion? I mean, I feel like we're having trouble communicating here.
I think he just wants to make sure that it's clear on if we are moving that, or if your motion was leaving it as is, you're just removing the site.
That's how I'm.
So if we can get that motion read back, Chris, if you have it ready.
That the 2025-2028 Peace River School Division Capital Plan be approved as amended with removal of the wording in reference to the current Fairfield High School site.
Does that work?
The capital site, is that what you said?
Okay, is everybody good with that, or clear on the motion? What they're voting, all in favor? We are 5, right? Yeah, 5. Those opposed? We are 2. Okay. We are on to our policy and development and review. So we were on second reading of policy 2, role of the board. There was just a couple of things that we had changed because we had changed all the 5-year, or sorry, changed from 3-year ed plan to 5-year ed plan. We did change the approved purchases on 4.5. So I think it was just cleaning up a couple of those things that we had already passed on the first reading. But if there is any conversation, sorry, we're on speakers. Let's go on this one. Interesting change. We just did one. I know, because there wasn't one on the other ones, but this big one.
I read through it. I was not at the part of the policy board, part of the board meeting when we talked about policy last time. It read well to me. I didn't see anything worth noting. You're good? Okay, Trustee Dick?
Yeah, no, I was helping with all this or whatever, and it's fine. I think we're good.
Trustee Leach?
In favor of the second reading.
Trustee Richardson?
No comment.
Trustee Dion?
No comment.
Trustee Giesberg?
Yeah, I think nothing really stands out in the way it reads. I did have a question here, so I don't know if this is the right place to ask, just on how some of this, what some of this looks like. I'm especially on the community assurance and engagement.
Whereabouts are you looking there?
So this is policy 2, chapter 1, oh, sorry, 2.2, 2.3, I guess. So yeah, I guess engaging the community, it's something that's been very, very important to me. And yeah, I do go to the school council and things, but often it seems like they're just talking to the same people. And sometimes I'm just wondering if there's a better way, bigger way. Maybe it's similar to what Trustee Rushton is saying, and how can we engage with more people? And so I don't know if there's just questions that come up when I read this. This is part of my role, and just some ideas and thoughts on that, but I don't know.
I think that conversation would be really good for our next meeting when we're talking about our advocacy and priorities, because then we can go into those details. Like right now, this is just approving the policy. But no, those are really good questions, and definitely can have a really good conversation about that. So I think that will be the other topics of what we'll be talking about today. So if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, definitely we'll make sure and talk about those. Okay, so then if somebody is okay, make a motion to pass for second. Kate, Trustee Rushton, all in favor of second reading? You're 7.
We do third reading right now?
Okay. Lacey motions for third reading, all in favor? We are 7, perfect. Okay. So
down.
So now, I thought we had done we did first reading on one of these, on these appendixes. So is it both of these ones that we're doing second reading on?
I thought you just discussed and then
There was-
you would bring them back.
There was only one there. We did pass. Yeah, I'll have to look in minutes because I know. Yeah, okay. Sorry? No. Because I thought, I think it was Appendix A. I thought that one was approved as amended for the first reading. Appendix B. that was one that was no, like, that was the hard no, that we wanted to completely rework that one. So the appendix B and appendix C, those are brand new. So this is the first time we're seeing those ones, but I was pretty sure that appendix A had already passed first reading.
I thought so too.
Well, then, I can very well be wrong, so I can change that.
Well, I just want to make sure before.
Would it be in the minutes of our meeting?
Last
June meeting? Was that?
We don't have those two.
Yeah.
No, this was in our June meeting that we discussed.
Oh, it was in their June meeting.
Oh,
Oh, so we did approve them.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I think
We
it
would
was
have just
June.
approved those meetings. Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Madam Chair, in looking at what's in the agenda here, if I'm looking at the same thing as the board's annual work plan, and I see lettering in blue, right?
Mhm.
So it seems like some of these pieces are notes for consideration. That's why I stand corrected. I remember one discussion, and it was the conversation around whether or not it was a wise idea for board members to attend operational administrative association meetings. And I spoke to that at that time as to why that's not
Yeah.
advisable for
Is this the
your
one you
incoming
said wasn't the
superintendent.
updated one?
Yes, but the most updated one still has that,
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
I was gonna say, so this was my mistake. I think maybe I gave the wrong one to attach.
Yes,
so
sorry, this here.
No, go ahead. I think we have the wrong thing attached too, so that's not helping.
This is the one here that I did at our meeting. This is, it doesn't have that.
No, yeah, it doesn't. Okay. Do you want to send a PDF with this to everybody?
Well,
I like your
If it-
hesitance in this.
if one of it wasn't a gosh darn Google Doc, I could.
Okay, well, let me see. Maybe I can find that one that you're on.
Oh, sure, but.
Yeah, it's in our policy committee one, and sorry, that was policy 2, right?
Policy 2, appendix A.
Appendix
okay.
A.
Yep.
Okay, I got it right here. So I can send that out. Sorry about that, because no, and because I looked at it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's the right one, but no, there was a few changes. Okay, so I'm gonna send this quickly out as a PDF to all you guys to have a quick look at.
In the meantime, has anybody searched back at our minutes?
I have the minutes.
Okay.
So these minutes were approved at the September board meeting. Policy 2, role of the board, updates to policy 2 were discussed that and moved by Trustee Dick that first reading of policy 2 was approved as amended, and now we're done 2 and 3. Appendix A to policy 2, so discussed updates, moved by Trustee Dion that policy 2 appendix A board annual work plan be tabled until the September 18th meeting of the board. So it was not passed
Okay,
first
okay.
reading.
No, perfect, thank you.
And then we did this work in the meantime?
Yeah, I think that we had changed some of that because we did have another policy meeting since then.
Yeah, we did.
This was August, right? This
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
August
yeah.
meeting that these were
Yeah.
approved in September.
Okay, I'm just sending this.
So this is an old one.
Yep. Sorry about that, you guys. So I was about to say, if we can actually just, while we're getting this through, have a brief conversation there on the appendix B and C. If that was more, because that was the one of the process of our evaluation, and that was the one that we completely redid. So I just kind of wanted to see, like, so appendix B, it just kind of goes through how we would change things, because we did, and I know, like, me personally as well, when you come in as a first trustee and all of a sudden you have to do an evaluation on the board, it's hard. So the way that we found that some of the other boards are doing it is it's a self-evaluation for year 1 and 3, because then you can go back and reflect on how you did in year 1 and if you made your changes, if you've met your goals. And then year 2 and year 4 are your full board evaluations. So I just was like, we just kind of wanted somewhere to start because we weren't happy with how the other one was. So yeah, if there's any conversation around that one, we are on speaker list on, we're on 3 for that one if we're talking about B. So trustee Giesbrecht.
So with the individual trust evaluations, is that just for yourself or do you still share it with each other?
I think we would share, you'd still share it. So in C, appendix C, it also kind of goes through what you would answer, how you'd set your goals. I think we would still share that. We would sit down and kind of discuss how we want to do everything. And like a lot of this stuff was just a starting point. You can definitely change things and set things up a little bit each year so that it tailors to that year. And then, we weren't sure if like we had the focuses right or if there was anything else.
Yeah, I think it's a good start.
Okay, trustee Dick.
Yeah, I think I'm good with it all. Have anything to add to us?
Okay. Trustee Christian.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Trustee Dion.
Yeah, I have some issues with having a board evaluations at the year 4, basically when everybody's leaving at the last 4, and not at year 2, and year 3 and year 1. So why don't we have a board evaluation every year then? Is it because we want to save something?
Well, we were just kind of looking at different options. So as it is now, we do a board evaluation every year, but we don't do an individual trustee one. So kind of the thoughts when a first board comes in, because you can end up with so many new trustees after an election, right? So then year 1, you would do a trustee evaluation, like your personal evaluation, kind of set up some of your goals. And then year 2, you've worked together for almost 2 years as a board. So you're able to kind of see how you guys function as a board better. And then you would evaluate that, set your goals. Year 3, you're doing a personal evaluation again, but you're reflecting on year 1. Did you meet your goals? Have you improved? Is there still things that you need to work on? And then the same thing with year 4, you're kind of looking at, it could be the end of your term. You might not be running, whatever. You're looking back on how did you guys function as a board overall? Is there new things you want to set or do for the next board coming in? So that's kind of how I kind of had it in my head.
Yeah. And the way I do see the board, I see the board as a system, and that doesn't depend on individuals. So we are just player on the system, almost like a car. So if you come in here 4, we should be able to do a board evaluation, basically looking at what decision was made before us. How many schools we closed, how many teachers we frustrated, how many violence we have in our school and how can we address that. So it kind of état des lieux, we say that, right? A kind of state condition assessment. So I think doing a board, and that's the way I see that, doing a board review on year 1, assessment on evaluation on year 1 is important, and that gives us the tone to go. And here too, we should repeat the same thing. And with again to see how are we contributing to the betterment of the system we are part of. And so on, repeat on year 3 and year 4, and we leave. So it shouldn't depend on anybody. So I can come and can go. The system should be able to run without me. And that's the way I do see that. That's what makes me a little bit, not agreeing with that. I think we personalize this thing too much. We're taking a board as a personal thing, which is not. Yeah, so that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Paczynski. I started looking at it. Oh, sorry.
So we're more or less just talking about the 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think the first year there is any sense in doing a board evaluation because I still don't think I do enough to even know how to evaluate the board at that point. Personally, if you have a board full of second term people, maybe. So I'm fine with it. I like that you're doing individual self-evaluations. I think it's good. 7 of us operating where we think we all should be operating should make a difference. I'm fine with it.
Okay, trustee.
We're talking about this one, right?
Yeah.
The colorful one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 5-year ed plan won't necessarily add on every year too.
No,
I have
yeah.
that question about. So I wondered if it should just be like not under year 2, but it should be like a continual rotation at the bottom.
For sure.
And then community engagement, I think it's too late to wait till year 3. I think that should be. Be even starting that on the end of year 1, you're gonna have a pretty good idea of how you want to engage with. Like the next year, you're gonna be ready to go out for.
I don't think I was clear on that. If you look on policy C, it goes through because the community engagements are happening every year.
Yeah.
This would just be the planning session to how you want to do it next term.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so no, it's not very clear on this
Planning.
one. It's just
Okay.
the planning for it.
Community engagement plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, okay, no.
Yeah, that's fine. I would even,
You're good then?
yeah, you can do a board evaluation year 3 too, because you're doing that for your superintendent.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
So I guess, is there any other conversation around this one, other than, we would move the development of the 5-year ed plan, because yes, that will be a different year each time. Go ahead.
What was, I can't remember now here, year 4 legacy project, what was that discussion?
It was just like, if you wanted to, like, because you're looking at maybe being done, right? But what did we do in our 4 years? What did we accomplish? What, like, it's just kind of coming, like, meeting all your ends kind of thing. Like, did we, you look back at your year 1 of your personal evaluations and year 2 of your board evaluation, like your first ones. Did you meet your goals? What did we do? Like, did you build new schools? Did you do this? Did you that? Did you implement or help with a new program in the schools? Or are you improving attendance? Like, just what did we do in that year? Just so that there's kind of, because lots of people ask that too, right? They're like, what do you do? And what have you done all term? And like, there's tons of things. Just kind of having it as a document. Go ahead, trustee Tio. Sorry.
Did we need, the board evaluation in there as well then as the legacy project, or should it then not, your legacy project not include your evaluation or be a part of?
Yeah, it'd be a part of it. Yeah.
So do you need them listed separately or no?
I think it was
One or
just
the other.
to kind of stand it up that there was something more. Go ahead, trustee Dio.
Thank you. So, this is a pretty good policy change, but I still don't agree. Like we asking a trustee, what have you done? As if we have a power to do something as a trustee. Usually we behave as a group. So single out, one person to see what this person has done. We have no power. We vote by motion of the board in order to even buy a simple matchbox. So we can do match as an individual trustee. And I think the way we framing these evaluations doesn't really reflect reality.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't think it was meant like personal trustees. It was just more when we look at our evaluations, like, did the trustees as a whole, have you met your goals? Like, it's just because we would do, if this was passed, you would do personal evaluations and board evaluations, because some of it is how you function as a trustee, right? Which still affects the board. Because if you have trustees that are not functioning as trustees, then it affects the board, right? So they do go hand in hand. They're just seen a little bit differently. And that's why we were saying, like, after like going through 2 full terms, and having those 2 years of first years, it's very hard to do a board evaluation when you first walk in as a first time trustee and you don't know what to expect. Or you come in as a returning trustee, but you have multiple new people at the table, you don't know how you're going to work together. So that's what we were looking at about possibly not doing board evaluations on the first year. You're good?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
No, Madam Chair, I just wanted to just kind of go a little bit more with Trustee Dick was talking about with the legacy project. The way I see that is that as the board is going out, as we are now, you sit down in, June, August, September, and kind of lay out, okay, we've got a new board coming in an election year. These are the things that we're going to have to pass off and let them know, like, this is where we were with all of those things,
Yeah.
and kind of where we were thinking about going in the future.
Yeah.
So that if you do, like this time, there could be 4 new trustees here. It would be nice if they walked in with, okay, this is what the board's been doing, this is where they're at, this is kind of where they were thinking about going in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
doing that.
Okay, so is there any more discussion on Appendix B?
Madam Chair, if I could, and it has to do with development of 5-year ed plan and the earlier reference from Trustee Leach that only happens once every 5 years.
Yeah.
I wonder, would it be better to make that note that actual development of a 5-year ed plan happens every 5 years, but in each of your years, an important piece of work is really around the development of the next year's version of the plan. So I'm wondering if you would have that as an important element in every year, talking about the work you've done to put forward the next version of your education plan for the following year, and all the work you do throughout the year in supporting the achievement of goals. And then with a note at the bottom, maybe you asterisk that development of strategic plan year 1, and a note at the bottom that becomes also the development of a brand new education plan once every 5 years. Because I see 3 or 4 things there, like on your list, that would be every year, like your advocacy, which is another topic today.
Yeah.
That's something I think is worth the board reflecting on at the end of the year as it gets ready for the next year. How did we do with advocacy? Well, we had these meetings, we did this, okay, great. And in the last year, it could be a part of the legacy piece to say, hey, here's the advocacy plan, and that's evolved over the 4 years of our tenure. There are some really important pieces to carry forward for the new board coming in. So I would see advocacy as a really important one to move forward. Another one would be the exercise you're into right now, policy development and updating it. Like, that would be a really good measure of your performance as when I say your trustees' performance, like the schedule that you have in place around going back and reviewing your policies over time. And 3 or 4 of those anchored in the roles and responsibilities of the board would be really good. I like the cycle. I like the staggering of it, with a combination of individual assessments and board assessment. And a lot of this work you could actually do internally without the need for an external consultant, for example. You develop a very healthy process where you self-reflect as an individual and as a team, say, how did we do with our supporting our strategic plan, our advocacy piece, policy development, and so on. So I think you've got a good structure here with a few little additions. It's simple and could be very worthwhile.
Do you have any other discussion on the Appendix B? So the notes that I have here was to, after Jeff just spoke here, is that we would add the review of the 5-year ed plan in each year, but then we'd have an asterisk that when it is ready to do the 5-year one every 5 years. The new one, add advocacy for each, and then I put in year 1 about adding your policy timeline, because then you can go through and see what policies you need to work on right away. Does that sound about right?
There's my,
Okay, then you want to make a motion to approve that one for first reading with those amendments. David makes that motion. All in favor? We are 7. Thank you. Okay, so that's first.
Since we've had a unanimous decision, are we not able to do second reading right now and then?
Yeah, you can.
Third reading for the new word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for this, yeah, we can just only do 2 at a time. We can't do the third because that's for the public. So yeah, if you want to make that motion.
I'd make the motion to do second reading at the same time.
Okay, all in favor of second reading? We're 7. Okay, perfect. Wouldn't that have been
I see
something?
that flash. A bike went by.
Oh my goodness.
When she was opening.
He probably wasn't that close.
No, it's a long way.
It just felt like.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so appendix C then is kind of going through all the steps of those years and how your evaluations would go. Oh, and look at that. I
Yeah,
did
you
not
left
change.
the
I left
board.
Prairie Land and
Very
yeah,
land in there.
yeah. I thought I went through and I missed it. So then I will definitely make sure that they all say Peace River School Division. not
Yeah.
Prairie Land. And I did want to add a line in there too, saying like, this isn't a hard, like, this is exactly what you have to follow. Because if something major comes up in a year, like year 1, something big happens and you want to make sure you're addressing that in year 2, you can. So I just want to make sure that we I thought I added it, but I don't think I did. That we have that in there so that this is just a starting point and then you can tailor it, because same thing with your performance focuses, those might change each term as well, right? These were just ones that I kind of looked at from other divisions and kind of going back on ours of what trustees look at, because one of the other things I want to take out too is the board learning quality standards, because we actually don't have that yet. That was something that Prairie Land had done. But overall, this was the change that we were looking at. And I know that it was Trustee Leach that had brought it up at that one meeting about wanting something completely different. Was this kind of what you were thinking, or was it, did I miss the mark?
Absolutely.
And it will be formatted better later too.
Where did you like?
C, yeah, the new policy 2C.
Yeah, I think it's better, right? It's not what I was thinking of, but I don't have a problem with this one. I don't know why I have something pictured in my head of what we did
With Brian.
yeah,
Yeah, and I did
No.
find that stuff now
Was it-
too.
Brian or Norm. Yes,
Oh, maybe. It's-
I think it was Norm.
Okay, see, I think I found the Brian stuff. I don't think I found Norm's.
Yeah, Norm's was like very easy to follow, very like basically a yes, no quiz,
Yeah.
basically. But it's probably close to the same, right? Like I do think it's better, like this has like more in line topics to what we actually do versus the old one was, in my opinion, so outdated. So yeah, I could support this. I assume you guys discussed this as the policy committee.
Yeah, this was one of the ones that we had talked about there. And then, like I said, we really liked the way Prairie Lands was set up. So I just kind of copied most of it, changed most of the Prairie Land to Peace River School Division. Then I forgot that one, but, okay.
So, just for a minute here, just one clarification. It says on performance focus 6, the board operations meetings, the second pointer here is trustees know how to add or change agenda items both before and during a meeting and do so in a clear, constructive manner that does not allow for surprises. What exactly does that mean? I didn't think you could change anything on an agenda once the agenda was approved. Or is this, are they speaking to before approved?
I think it means that people are they acting in alliance with procedure, or are they throwing things out there during a meeting?
Yeah.
Like if that question came to me now, like with this board, I would say no. Like our trustees do know how to add agenda items and they respect the process.
Yeah. Okay, I just want clarification there.
Yeah, no, for sure. So this is.
I really like the questions at the end,
Yeah.
but I think really it could just be that.
Okay, so we're gonna go through speaker list 5. So first up is Trustee Dion.
No, I have no comment on that.
Okay. Trustee Dick, anything else?
No, I think everything else is good. Would be anything else to add?
No, I think it's a huge improvement, and I thank the committee for bringing forward something that's. Just working.
Trustee Giesbrecht?
I think at a glance, it looks good, although after living it once, there's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's just it. It was kind of a starting point, right? Because that's, you could go through it for a year and say, absolutely not, this is not right, and then it can change, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Trustee Rushton?
I think you got 3 more.
Yeah, okay. Trustee Paczynski? You're good? Okay, so would somebody want to make a motion that okay, Marie? Other than we'll change that it's Peace River School Division.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Marie made a motion.
Okay, okay.
Okay, all in favor for 7? Somebody want a second reading?
I make a motion for second reading.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor? For your 7. Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, so then on to policy 3, second reading. Role of the trustee. I think same thing. It was just, we were cleaning up some of the questions that we had in there. What? We are speakers list 6. So policy 3, that it is trustee Dick.
Oh, I think when we went through here, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if the appendix with individual trustee evaluations, is that one?
Policy to appendix C, individual.
So
Yeah.
there's 2 there. Yeah, we just did the board trustee evaluation, board self-evaluation, then there's another one right after that, I think. That says appendix C, individual trustee evaluation. Am I correct?
Unless I could be wrong,
There was 2 that were named as appendix C,
Yes.
and I left them that way, but one was board self-evaluation.
Oh, and that's what I was talking about.
Mhm.
That's not the one that I,
So there's another one right after that, Madam Chair, that says individual trustee evaluations.
4.2.1.3.
That's right.
Yeah.
2.1.
why do I not have that on mine? Did I miss it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at the agenda. It's not on mine.
Oh, yeah, this one is more like, but, North.
That's on the PLQS one, and
Yeah, I'm just gonna refresh mine and see what's going on, because mine doesn't have that.
I was here the other day.
Yeah, I have 4.2.1.1.
This
Oh,
one
that's
is
okay.
like-
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong bloody one. That's fine.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I missed the individual. Okay, so sorry, jumping back up to, I was on policy 3 already. Okay, so what speaker list are we on this one? This one was 5. I had to check. Okay, I don't care. We're going back to 1. Trustee Paczynski. I'm all over the place.
I have nothing.
Trustee Dick,
We're on policy 2, appendix C.
on the self-evaluation one.
I guess the individual.
Yeah, individual, sorry.
It would be appendix D.
Yeah, it would be appendix D.
I guess that's
So
what
it
it
was.
Yeah, no, I'm all good with all that.
Trustee Leach.
So this one is the one that I'm concerned with, just in the fact that, so it's an individual trustee evaluation. And then it makes, like, I ensure that students and staff members are provided with welcoming care. Well, like, that's a board question. That's not an individual, like. I just, the wording of this is really tricky because Trustee Dion said this too, is we don't individually make insurances or decisions by ourselves. The board does, right? But all of these are worded as that I did it. Well, I really did not, you know? So that's where I would, and I remember kind of like seeing that before and being like so uncomfortable to, yeah, I get the meeting, but it should be more like I participated in the process to ensure.
Or I felt that the board did this, like with that fit better or no?
If it's individual,
But these are individual trustee goals.
Yeah, but at the same time, we could have individual, I can think the board did something differently than you think the board did something, right?
Yeah, but so it's like I participated in the process versus I ensured.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I got that for sure.
I know I'm being a word nerd,
No,
but
that's good.
that's really important to me.
And it said, actually, Madam Chair, I was going to speak to that, and I was on this one, when you were on the other one.
Sorry.
And I quickly went back, and then I realized, oh, there's two here, so you were on one, I was on the other. But to the point that the trustee just made, so if I were to direct your attention to the third item here, I work collaboratively with fellow trustees in the fulfillment of the board's governance. That gets at the issue you've raised, but if you read a lot of the other ones there, it's I ensure that students achieve, or I ensure that the superintendent did this and did that. They probably need to be reworded in a manner that I contributed, I work with the board to support the superintendent and his team in this regard and that regard. But the structure and so on, well, I'll leave the other trustees, but I think you're onto something quite good here. But you want to be careful about the wording to make sure that the governance and operations boundaries aren't blurred, and in many instances they are air, which is I think what Trustee Leach is also referring to. But I think there's an easy correction that could be made.
Okay, good, no, thank you.
Still got, prairie land in there too.
Yeah. Okay, trustee Reston.
Well, it just looks like we've got a bunch of changes to make, I think, right?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering at this time if it would be used up last time if we just said, you know what, let's take this away and do something with it and bring it back.
Bring them back.
Yeah, if somebody wants to motion that we table it to the next meeting, David.
Or send it back to policy committee.
Yeah, that's what my motion would be, that the
Okay.
policy committee take this and then
Okay.
present it at the next board meeting.
Okay. Okay, so if that's your motion,
That's my motion.
okay, all in favor of that motion for the individual trustee evaluation? Okay, we're set.
We're gonna call it policy D. or-
D, yes, it'll be appendix D, sorry about that. Okay, so that was that one. Thank you. I don't know why I was not
It's
seeing
like
that.
have all this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was my problem. I kept looking at an old one. Okay, so then the role of trustee, policy 3.
Second reading.
Yeah, this is second reading, because the only thing that we did change from the first one, the first reading was just, under 18, we said become familiar and adhere to the trustee code of conduct, board policy 4. We just added that, just so that people know where to look for it. We can just do a round table quick. Is there anybody that has any comments on this one? No, so you want to make a motion for a second reading? Edith, okay. All in favor of second reading? You're 7. Anyway, David make a motion for third reading. All in favor? You're 7. Perfect, thank you. So then appendix A for policy 3. What did we do differently on that one? No, I think it was just changing the 5-year ed plan again.
Yeah.
And it was something to do, there was wording before I said about like providing internet or something like that we removed. Same thing, we'll just kind of open it up. Does anybody have any comments for appendix A of policy 3? If not, if somebody wants to pass second reading. Marie, all in favor? You're 7. So we want to do third reading. I see Edith. Okay, Edith, all in favor? We're 7. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appendix B. I think it was just the same thing. We're just changing the 5-year. No, that's not this one. Sherry's summary. I don't have anything highlighted in this one. I'm trying to focus.
We didn't make any
We
changes
didn't make
after
any
reading
changes?
one.
Okay,
There were changes, if there were changes, sorry for butting in, but if there were changes, they would have, the blue would have went away after the.
yeah,
after the first
okay, so
reading.
then we're just passing for second reading then. Any questions or discussion around this one? No, somebody wants to make a motion, pass third, second reading. Hey, Lori, all in favor? 7. Okay, anybody want to do third reading? 3, all in favor? We are 7. Okay. Appendix C, it's trustee school tours. We did change before with the wording about including community members and classroom levels, student groups. But yeah, we haven't made any changes since the first reading. Is there any discussion on this one? Anybody would like to make a motion to pass for second reading? David? All in favor? 7. Does anybody want to pass for third reading? Oh, sorry, Edith. Okay, all in favor? There's 7. Okay. Okay, so now this one, a little bit of discussion, just because since they have changed the ministerial order, we don't necessarily have to have a policy for the library or the learning materials. This was actually, the draft of this came from ASBA. It was actually set up as an AP. We basically took just the titles of the overall and then removed all the how-tos because that's an AP, not a policy. But at the same time, now with the second announcement with the ministerial order, they said that no, we don't necessarily need a policy. So the other thing that I brought forward was policy 12 was adding in here under 5, and I just threw some words in there just to see. So it says policy, administrative procedures, and then I added government mandates. And then we would add in here, adhere to and comply with all ministerial orders and government mandates. I don't know if we want to change wording or that, but ultimately the goal of this would be that no matter what the government throws at us, it would be up to the superintendent to make sure that the division is complying with all of them, so that we wouldn't have to make a new policy on library ones, or if they're going to change, because even that one, it's been out for how many weeks and they've already changed it twice. So this way, it just makes it that no matter what they tell us to do, we are obligated and we expect our superintendent to follow those mandates rather than having a whole other policy for whatever the government decides to throw at us. So that's kind of what I wanted to propose here. Either we just make the change to policy 12 and remove the whole idea of that policy 22, or if people really would like to stick with a separate policy, we would not make changes to policy 12 and add policy 22. So I will go around just because this one was a little bit more than just checking. And we'll go speakers list 3. So this one is trustee Giesbrecht.
So yeah, so when the ministerial order changes, then that is a whole process to change our policy, right?
Yeah, well, depending on what it is, or if they add a new one or whatever, right?
So yeah, I think I would be in favor and even the superintendent that authority to just make sure that all those mandates and instructions are followed.
Okay, trustee Dick's not in the room right now. Trustee Rushton.
No, excuse me, Madam Chair. No, I think that unless it's a government mandate that we make a policy, I will make it policies. And I think that this, what you've done here in policy 12, I think it covers us pretty good.
Okay. Trustee Dion.
No, I think I support what was said before. It's a good policy, good approach actually to follow the government releases and react to that. So I support that.
So you would be more in favor of the policy 12, like tweaking that one? The new policy? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Trustee Baczynski.
I like tweaking policy 12, and I like not having policy 12 selection availability and access to language.
Trustee Leach.
I am opposed to a policy selection for any material and would support that goes in with the role of the superintendent for all mandates, unless, like was mentioned, that unless we have to make a policy, we don't need a policy. It's operational.
So trustee Dick, we were just talking about whether we wanted to keep with on the path of the new policy 22 about the selection and availability of library materials, or about adding that line in policy 12 where it's just, we expect the superintendent to adhere to all mandates and
We're gonna dump it in your lap.
yes. Okay, so if somebody in relation to those two, somebody would like to make a motion that we do not add a policy 22, but we make amendments to policy 12.
We don't.
Well, okay, I wasn't sure because we already had it on here, so that's why I wasn't too sure if we had to do anything with it or not, or we're just.
There's
no okay.
you discussed it and then there's no motion, so it just is gone.
So Madam Chair, just as you finish up this topic, at some point in time, given that you just finished up a review of policy 2, for added measure, you could actually go back and put a piece in policy 2 as well, under board superintendent relations.
Yeah.
Provide the superintendent with clear corporate direction, including direction to ensure compliance with government legislation and ministerial orders.
Yeah.
So you could have it in both places. There's another section there as well, up under accountability in government, provincial government, to the provincial government, saying that, you act in accordance with statutory requirements, including ministerial orders and legislation. So at a point in time when you're back reviewing your policy next year, the new board could just for good measure solidify that piece. So now it's coming from both policies.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you keep those up, please?
Yeah, we will.
Make sure to bring it up. Okay, so I guess we'd be looking for a motion to approve first reading of policy 12. Please, sorry.
Yep. Board meeting 2.5.
What is this?
No, go ahead. No. There is an ability for the board, if they want to amend a policy such as this, because this isn't a big shift in the policy. This is just to identify that all of those government mandates will be met by or allocated to the superintendent. The board has an ability to suspend a motion. So right now, policy can only be changed through 3 readings. The board has the ability to suspend that, to make a motion, to suspend 3 readings, to make a change to a policy in significant situations, in certain situations. Of course, 99.999% of the time when you're amending a policy, you want to follow your procedures and have 3 readings, and in between some point of those 3 readings, it goes to the general public. This amendment to a policy really is a reaction to following government mandate and ministerial orders, which I don't think would have input from the public on changing the policy. I'm not picking very good words here. There's an English teacher across the room who probably could have said that much more eloquently than I could. But the board has the ability to do that. This change to a policy is just to explain to everybody through policy how mandates and ministerial orders are covered by the Board of Trustees. And your amendment to policy 12 says the superintendent of schools will make sure those guidelines are met. So it's just an option for the board.
Yeah, no, so we could pass, or we could say a motion that the board move to suspend the ruling requiring a 3 reading process for policy 12, role of the superintendent, so that we can have this immediately take effect and it's just done. So that would be how the motion would have to read. And it is like, if you look up in Robert's Rules of Order, you absolutely are able to suspend rules of how you normally carry out your meetings, and what you would have in your policies. So that there is that option. If somebody would want to do that.
I like that option.
You like that
That we
option?
suspend the 3 readings that we normally go through for amending policy 12.
Okay.
Yes. Good.
Can I just ask a question? Yeah. So that's just for this motion? Yes, it's just for this motion. Sorry. Yeah.
And Madam Chair, we're gonna have one thing, because it's such a technical requirement issue that says Rhonda said not debatable in the sense that somebody could disagree with it, either here or outside. The reality is we're obligated to follow suit. So this is a great example to use that expedited process.
Okay. Any other questions around that motion? So then it's just once we put the vote in, then, and it does have to pass by a 2/3 majority. Then it would just be that policy is changed. We wouldn't have to go through the other readings of it. Okay, so,
Yeah, so we would do the motion to suspend the required 3 reading process for policy 12.
Yeah.
Then we would have a motion to amend policy 12.
okay, so the motion on the floor that David has is to suspend the 3 reading process. So for policy 12, all in favor? Oh, your hand did up. Okay, we are 7. Sorry, it looked like it wasn't. That's why I was making sure. Okay, we are 7 there. Okay, and then does somebody want to make a motion to amend policy 12? Lori. Okay, all in favor? We are 7. Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. So that one's done. And then
Thanks.
quickly, policy 7, the only thing that was changed in there was about the meetings and how we had talked about pulling the board. Oh, it's way down here. The board consent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
Towards
not.
the end.
I saw it,
It was
but
in
now I
blue.
can't see it.
It's supposed to say it wasn't blue and now it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, okay, but it was in 7.1.6. It had trustee calendar, work plan, staffing and executive reports. It was struck out in there because it's saying in here that all of that stuff would be in the consent agenda, where we were saying that we want to put that in the body of the agenda. So then we would strike out the trustee calendar and work plan, staffing and executive reports. I had a question before that I couldn't see where the financial documents were because they're not in here. So we can just move that down in the agenda, can we not?
It says financial reports.
Where do I?
7.1.6.
Yeah, so.
Oh, it's
here-
in there too. Okay.
Yeah, financial reports. My question would be if financial reports comes out of there, are you just adding the quarterly reports to the regular agenda? If you take financial reports out of the consent agenda, that puts them on, then the only thing you'll have is the quarterly reports based on the discussions that we've had.
That was what we,
Well, sorry, but I mean, I guess I was involved in the
Yeah.
conversation, so if you're gonna forego the speakers or something,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
my
fair.
request to have more formal, quarterly reports.
Yeah.
The monthly reports that we're getting now, my concern is that now if we want to talk about them, we have to talk about them at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
Because
so,
we pull them from two. I would still like to see the monthly reports. Doesn't mean we have to talk about them when we get to them. If there's no question, just carry on with something different, right?
okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, those monthly reports now, as I understand it, are reports that Rhonda chose to provide to the board because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda, but these are reports that we have to send to Alberta Education every month.
Mhm.
There have been a couple of meetings whereby our meeting didn't come in sync with, from a timing perspective, when we had to roll that information up to Alberta Education. So during those months, though that part, there wasn't a report on the agenda. So the requirement is to, have a quarterly report where it's a detailed expenditure footprint as to how much money was budgeted in broad categories, how much was spent to date, and the variance. Like, are we 25% through the year and we spent 75% of the money? Well, that's a flag. What's up there? Or 75% through the year and only spent 10% of the money, those kinds of things. Those are the broad strokes that the board would obviously want to have some significant conversation around. Having them where they were sort of presented just for information, really. They were there. If anybody had a question, they pulled it from the consent agenda, later came back and there was a conversation. If it moves down to another part of the agenda, now it becomes a more formalized process, if I can put it that way, and much more of a requirement for Rhonda to spend time, or for the trustees, I should say, to spend time on the agenda on that. And I guess the critical question would be whether or not that's valuable use of time, given that every 3 months, there's a quarterly report. That's a very detailed report on where spending occurs. So now it's sort of an FYI. somebody has a particular question, great. If not, if somebody's just particularly interested in it, reads it a little later. When it shifts from where it is to another part of the agenda, then every time there's a pause, there's a conversation. And so I would just say, I wanted you to be aware of that. It will put potentially more onus on the board and our staff to spend time on it. Even if, and there might be times when there's not a whole lot to say, but it's now more formalized in the agenda. So I guess you just need to grapple with what's best.
Yeah, and I think what was getting at was that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't that we wanted to change what was happening. It was just that when we go through and then all of a sudden it is 10 to 4 and we're trying to ramble through our items removed from consent agenda, sometimes that's where that financial report falls. And then all of a sudden now we're kind of rushed to get through the conversation of it. So I think that's what the idea of it was, to have it pulled so that it's just kind of a regular standing agenda item, so that if there is a conversation around it, we can have it, and it happens earlier on in the meeting, not at the end of the day when people are kind of done and we don't really have the conversation. So I don't know, like that was where we're going.
I might just be able to get the other two hands to go down.
Oh, okay.
I realize the logistics that Superintendent Thompson just explained. I'm perfectly fine leaving it in the consent agenda, and we can pull it when necessary. I'm good. I understand that it's going to cause a little bit of some stuff to happen, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
And I guess at the end of the day, the board can decide that if it's something that can't wait till the end and maybe has to happen at another time in the meeting, when you pull it, you can kind of put it wherever. Can you not jump around the agenda all the time? Like, so I guess if it needs to be something that doesn't wait till the end of the day and everybody's exhausted.
Yeah.
Could move 7.1.7 items removed from the consent agenda up under 7. You could switch it and fiduciary items to bring it up closer to the.
Yeah,
That was gonna be also.
that was.
I
it.
was
Yeah.
guessing we were gonna be the same. Because I feel like anything in the consent agenda is usually like, other than hot topics. Yeah, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And
Or quick
usually end up referencing other things in our agenda, and it might, I don't know if it messes anything else up. I haven't really thought about it, so it's sitting here now.
But lots of times our questions are answered throughout the agenda.
Yeah.
No, and that's why I kind of like with it being at the end of the agenda, because exactly, we'll have other conversations and it totally relates back to that. But that's what I was just saying, if we decide to pull the financial report and say it is a really big question, we can just have it whenever. We can have that conversation, can we not? Because like I said, we jump around the agenda all the time, so I don't see why, if we know that it's gonna be a bit of a hot topic, we just have the conversation before the end of the meeting. I don't know.
I don't care if it's 4 o'clock because it's hot, but I want to.
Okay, exactly. Okay, so we're good with leaving the financial report then?
I'm good with it. If
Okay.
everybody else is.
Okay, because we already said that we will have that quarterly one that will come forward and that will be more of a conversation. Okay, so we didn't have that on here. So then I guess what would be proposed? Well, it was supposed to be. I don't know what happened because we saw the one report and it was all crossed out.
If the decision is no change, then we don't need them.
But the trustee calendar, the work plan and the staffing, that was what we talked about removing from the consent agenda.
Yeah.
So that's where we would cross out is trustee calendar and work plan, staffing and executive reports. So those two would be struck from this because they will be in the regular agenda. I'm in 7.1.6.
Okay.
Because we said we wanted, because right now the trustee calendar already is not in, like that's already wrong because it's already pulled from the consent agenda. And then we said we wanted to have the work plan with the calendar so we could discuss them together. And then it was talking about the superintendent report is going to be done a little bit differently. So we're going to have that out as well. So that would be the only change to this policy, is just striking out trustee calendar and work plan, staffing and executive reports.
You have a question, Chris?
What do you mean by staffing? It's in there. It's still
That's
in
what it
there.
says in there. Yeah.
In the
That's
brackets that
It's
include
old.
what's on the consent
Oh,
agenda.
Yeah, that's why we're saying we want to strike it out of there. Yeah.
We took it out, but we changed columns.
Yeah. So say we stopped doing it, but we didn't change it in here. Yeah, so that's the only change I propose for this policy 7 is just striking out those two sections in fiduciary items.
This could be another case where you could suspend the motion to
Okay.
You could have a motion to suspend the 3 readings of a
Okay.
policy because this is correcting what's happening with the
Yeah.
consent agenda.
And you're all
Okay.
on board.
Okay, if somebody would be comfortable doing that. Please.
Executive reports though.
The staffing and executive reports, yeah.
But it is our executive reports are our superintendent and
Yeah, it's just taking it out of the consent agenda because his report's gonna come down further on. It's gonna be in the agenda.
I'm saying that you really want to know for anything.
Well, I thought that that was what was asked, right?
I know, but I thought we were discussing.
Oh, is that, sorry,
The trust or the superintendent report, because you said you were gonna make some changes to how you're gonna do your reporting.
yeah, but that was more around, so what we talked about doing was, the report from the superintendent would be a report that would subsume anything from finance that's of a significant nature, from teaching and learning, from plant operations and so on.
Okay.
And not so much where it was placed on the agenda,
Oh,
but
okay.
how it was going to be delivered.
Okay, sorry, that was my,
But I feel like that should still be in consent.
okay. So then it would just be changing that wording then, so we would
Yes.
cross out that stuff and just leave a superintendent report.
And it would remain in the consent.
Remain in there, yeah,
That would be, yeah,
okay,
I missed that part too, thank you.
yeah, sorry, I totally misunderstood that.
But actually, right now, it's in fiduciary meeting.
Well, no, it's saying
Oh,
that
yeah,
anything in
yeah.
those brackets is part of the consent agenda
Okay.
unless it's pulled, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this again. So we're going to strike out trustee calendar and work plan. And then we are striking out staffing and executive and replacing it with superintendent.
Superintendent report, yeah.
Is that clear as mud then?
Yeah,
Perfect.
and I would like to. What do they need?
Suspending.
Suspend the rule requiring a 3 reading process for policy 7. Board operations in order to allow for immediate amendment and approval.
Okay, so motion to suspend our
3 reading.
3 reading rule, all in favor? We're 7, okay. David,
I'll make the
you're making the
to make
motion
these
to,
changes as
okay.
talked about.
Okay, so is approved, pass, what is it? To amend policy 7. Okay, all in favor? We're 7. Perfect. Okay.
Made it through that one, didn't
Okay,
Oh,
now we
yeah,
still
one
have
more.
one more. So 5.1,
Yeah.
policy's all done.
I celebrating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Forgot the wine.
substantive motion.
So I
Yes,
pulled
that's
that.
it, yes.
I pulled that for, I think, 2 reasons. Well, overall, just to take a look at it, since this is our last meeting, see if we can clean it up for the new board. So just taking a look at it, I'm not sure if I think we've given number 1 a valiant effort and we have not heard back. So I feel like maybe this could be dropped off of our substantive motions. I don't really know that process, but number 2, we have to keep because that's going till fall of 2027. Number 3, I feel like we've done a lot of work and I feel like in every ward, we're going to be doing a lot more of this work. So I feel like maybe it doesn't need to be there as well. And obviously number 4, we just paid, so we did. So I just wanted to see if anyone else thought we could clean that up.
Yeah, well, I certainly agree on number 1.
But I also don't know the process of that, so.
I don't know.
Secretary,
Actually.
Treasurer, Rhonda, if we could run the-
No, I, all you have to do is say that it's done now and it will show up. We will change it to done. It'll show up on the next meeting and then it will fall off showing. So the next meeting substantive motions will show that the substantive motion is completed and then it's gone in the following.
Okay.
Because really, if at some point we don't, there could be like 20 things and then you don't even look at it because you're like, oh, there's so many things on there that
Mhm.
are out of our control or that we're just doing. It doesn't necessarily be most.
I don't understand with number one, why they asked for trustee to be able to sit here and they're gonna follow through on.
I think that the board, heard their comments and they responded appropriately right away. And the fact that this is long gone, this is September of 2023, they haven't come back to you. I think the board has gone above and beyond. And if they want to come back with the ask again, they come back with the ask again.
And there's definitely been talk too, because I know I've
There's been
talked to
meetings,
people
yeah.
out there too, and I said like, let us know, like, we want to sit down.
Yeah.
And then people are like, okay, I will talk to my side and we'll get back to you, and we hear nothing, so. Yeah.
This is what this.
So then,
I'm in agreement with number one. I don't know why that would carry forward to a new board. I think it would be restarted again if the topic comes up again. 2 and 3, I feel are both still active. Because I don't, like 2, we're in the process, like we're clear with that. It's a timeline on that, right? 3 though, to work with Ward 7 trustee to engage with stakeholders to discuss their educational needs. I would like to hear from trustee from Ward 7 if that's been met yet, or if there's more that you would like to work on. Advantage 2, and by acclamation.
Yeah, I don't really know. Possibly a lot more could have been done. It's really kind of tough, like in Florida, like we went through a lot of principles too. So you really, other than going door to door, what do you do? I think my my question earlier, like is with community engagement and all that, I'd like to see like some things happening, I think, but I think it's probably true for everyone in their own way of what they'd like to see in their community. So that's maybe a discussion for later on. And yeah, like, I guess I don't really, we have this motion, but I guess I never really knew exactly what to do with it, other than, like, I've been sharing stuff on my phone and asking for feedback and engaging in people somewhat, like when this motion first came out, but there's only so many people that respond to you. So unless you go in it in a big way somehow, it's really, I really don't know what this should look like, honestly. I think a lot of it takes time and just continuously maybe doing the trustee stuff that you should be doing, maybe. Yeah, so I don't know if we really need, I mean, there's a lot more to be done, but do we need this particular motion out here? I don't know if it really makes a difference in what I'm doing at this point. Thanks. Go ahead.
I just, I would like to see it just stay there just as a bit of a reminder. So when we get into the next few months, all around the division in all of our communities, we have children and families utilizing the school of choice, where there's kids going to different public schools or they're going to a Catholic school. In the Meadow Simon School, we just have a whole lot of children that aren't going to a public or a Catholic school. They're being at home school or one of the other schools that are up there that's not one of ours. I think we have an opportunity in Cleardale to at least take a stab at it. And if I would like to leave it there until we get things settled with the new board, and then maybe bring it up and clean it off and say, we're going to take a little bit different look at it. But there is a process that needs to go into place. And I know you and I have talked about it numerous times. There are some things that maybe we could come up with, or our task our administration to try something different, because there's a whole lot of kids up there that could be going to our school that's definitely underutilized. So I don't mind just leaving it there only as a kind of a reminder that we need to do something there.
And I'm fine with it staying there, and I'm fine talking about it more too. It's just often like bringing a report back, I really don't know what to say, but I definitely think there's probably more things that could be done. It is that engaging part. How do we do it? And what does it look like? And maybe that's something we're gonna talk about next meeting, when we talk about advocacy and all that. I don't know. Yeah, like midnight.
I was supposed to say, I gotta work, so I might be leaving.
Yeah, not today, but
yeah.
like whenever we
I was supposed to say, you're sticking around for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like something I'm crazy. I just wanted to have the conversation if Yeah, a new board would be like, why does board 7 get special treatment? I want to talk to my community here, like, things like that is where my brain went.
Okay, fair enough. So is there an appetite to say that, motion 1 is done? Okay, so that would be a motion then? Do we have to make that motion, or we're just good to say that it's done and then we're just gonna
We're
receive
good
this
to say that
information?
because the motion to do it's already been
Okay.
made, the conversation's been had, so we don't need motions.
Where are you going, Marie? We still have another meeting after this.
Where? Here?
Here.
Do we? 'Cause I have another meeting at 5. What time is it? 3.
Yeah, well, we figured something out. Okay, do you wanna,
Move for information mix, so we're leaving everything else the same.
yeah, it sounds like we're just removing 1.
Okay, I will move that for information.
Okay, all in favor? You're 7. Okay. That's it, right? Motion to adjourn. See, all in favor? Okay, we're 7.